The following audio may contain coarse language and other material that may not be suitable for a younger audience. Viewer discretion is advised. Also, we may spoil anything and everything, so you have been warned. Hello and welcome to Save Point Gamecast. I'm joined here today with my lovable friends, my lovable regulars, Ben and Peter. How are you guys?
Good. Pretty damn good.
Yeah, it's not been a bad week. Not been a bad week at all.
Yet.
And we're also joined here by our guest reviewer. He plays video games all the time, but for some reason he's just not on Save Point. Why? He's probably just lazy. It's the lovable Trevor Flynn. How are you, Trevor?
Hey, everybody. Here to talk about Pokemon, because that's pretty much all I play these days.
You and Sarah both.
Thank God for the Pokemon resurgence.
I'm not ashamed.
None of us are.
There is no reason to be ashamed of that. None whatsoever.
It is a grown man. People are like, oh, I'm badass. I do cockfighting. Fuck you, Pokemon.
There was
bitch.
a great comic I read once where it was just basically like middle school, Pokemon. High school, like, this stuff's stupid. College, Pokemon!
Basically.
It's like I got to college and someone was playing Pokemon again. I was like, oh, it's okay. I remember we were in a class once, last Pokemon thing, and it was in media studies, and she was like, who here has played Pokemon? And everybody raised their hand in the entire class. She's like, it's you guys! I've been waiting for the generation who grew up on Pokemon. You're finally here. She was so excited.
That's actually awesome.
Everyone's like, we have arrived.
We're such a weird generation because we were like Power Rangers and Pokemon in the 90s. And I love how like Gen Xers can't stand us. They can't stand our forms of media.
They don't understand.
They get like upset about Power Rangers. This is the thing. I was talking to a Gen Xer the other day and he was so upset about how Power Rangers was bullshit. And I was like, fuck you. The Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles are such bullshit just by comparison.
No, Thundercats. Thundercats made a lot more sense, man.
Oh my god.
Oh my god. I love how you're like a transplant Gen Xer, Trevor. I love your old man status.
You realize I was kidding, right?
No, no, I didn't, dude. I mean, I apologize. Like, I don't mean to mean. I love Thundercats and I love Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, but I feel like the generation behind us just like at some point like started arbitrarily hating everything we did.
It's probably just like the saturation of it in the media market that was no longer for them.
Probably.
That's exactly what it is. I mean, that's probably just generationally speaking.
Yeah. I'm looking forward to when it will be old people and there'll be 2000s things that we're redoing and we're like, why? Who remembers this?
When we're in our 40s and have families, they're going to be making live-action Pokemon movies for us to go take our children to. That's going to happen.
Are they making them for our children, though, or are they making them for us?
I have to eat crow about something. The other day, I had a younger kid who apparently watches Steven Universe, and I didn't know what Steven Universe was at the time.
You need to watch it.
Like, as a huge anime fan, I know. Like, I was like an idiot, and they literally like make fun of Shokugeki on that show. And it's great. And I was just like, I had this like weird like, oh my god, a kid's watching it, boo hiss reaction. And I sat down and I was like, damn. I'm an old man now. Like I have to eat crow about that one because that one. What was the other thing? Gravity Falls. Yeah, some other like modern because I like shit on like kind of American animation all the time, and then I was watching Disney XD. I was like, damn. These are good.
Gravity Falls is literally one of my favorite shows of all time. It is, yeah.
It is. It's like Katie and me like literally like mainline that show in like a couple of weeks, and I was just like, damn, where did this come
now it's
from?
a weird thing where it used to
That's
be
a reason
like
to get
adults
Hulu.
are like, oh kids, your shows are so stupid. Now like, no kids, your shows are way more smart than you'll ever know. Like, wait till you're an adult.
Yeah.
You don't get it. I understand Steven Universe is so much harder than you.
I was giving shit.
Yeah, it's like
I was giving shit to Johnny Test the other day.
Oh my god, I remember that
somebody
show.
Pointed out to me, it's like, it's literally Dexter's Lab, like in reverse. Like there's like no difference, and I'm like, there's a difference, and I can't say if there is or is. There's a big difference, but I felt like such like an old
Johnny
man.
Test. That's a good one. That's a good one.
on
That
his
when
lawn.
they make the Johnny Test $200 million movie, I'll be like, why? That'll be my Power Rangers movie.
Yeah, well.
Speaking of Power Rangers
guys,
movie,
we really
2017,
need to get
still
started.
waiting, even if it looks like shit.
We really need to get started. So we're going to go ahead and start about what we played this week. This is our first segment of the day. Ben, I heard you finished God of War 3.
I did. It's not the main thing I'll talk about, but let's quickly mention God of War 3 is a bummer. It's a real bummer to finish that game. Yeah, stick with God of War 1 and 2, guys.
Pandora!
If you want
Pandora!
Pandora! Yeah, it's like he murders everybody, all these innocent, horrible people, and then one like cute white girl, and he's like, "Oh, man, Wembley." It's terrible.
Oh my
and
God.
the ending sucks, and it's just a bummer. Like, don't play
He's
it.
so racist.
He's very racist. He's very
like he's just
he kills everybody.
Like the power of I don't know. I was about to say young tits. That sounds bad.
Wow.
I don't know, man. Like for him, like he's obviously like a pedophile.
I think it's just a family thing, but it's just
I'm
like
gonna
a
stop
dumb.
this
They try to
line
like
of
make him like matter at the end because like it's actually a little bit interesting where you're like, oh, he's a huge asshole and everyone calls him an asshole and you're ruining the world, and then like he meets Pandora and you're like, oh wait, they actually think he's a good character still. Oh no.
I know. It was more like if it just like leaned into the ridiculousness of everything. Like there are some moments in the Zeus fight where Zeus is just like, "You're a giant dick," and I'm just like, "Okay, that's funny."
So yeah, it's,
like yeah, he is a giant dick.
It's a bummer. I mean, the Kronos thing bothered me because it's like it used to be like so epic when you climbed Kronos in the first game, and now you're just like kill him in 10 seconds, and it's just like it's a bummer.
Like,
So anyways, moving on. I played a very interesting game called Virginia, which is a game that's been getting very all over the board reviews, but the people who love it say it's like one of the great games. Spoiler alert, it's not, but let me just explain a little bit before I get into so Jack's not sitting there going, oh, another indie game that Ben's jizzing over way too hard.
Here we go again.
Don't worry, this one didn't work.
I'm sorry, I love you.
You know me.
I love
you.
I play indie games too. Like I'm not just a terror. I'm not just like.
I know.
I mean, I think it was just more like Jonathan Blow, and I go, okay,
That's
now I'm
fine.
gonna roll back.
That's fine. He's a bit up his ass.
It's more Twitter that's the
Yeah,
problem.
there you go. Well, Virginia is sort of on the lines of a Dear Esther or a Gone Home or a Firewatch, where it's not much gameplay, it is more story based. The difference between Virginia and that was interesting to me is that they wanted to make it have linear cuts like a film, which is very interesting. So you do a sequence and then it actually literally cuts you to a new place instead of doing a classic movie thing of a video game thing of either you walking to that location or cut scene, which has movie style pace and editing, and then go back to you playing the game literally with one unbroken shot. So it's a very interesting idea in that. Because the game is super short, it's literally an hour and 20 minutes. So you can watch the entire thing in the course of less than 2 episodes of Luke Cage. And I would say if you're going to explore this game, I would just watch it on YouTube because there's no functionality. There's literally like you just have to push a thing to make it go faster. I think the game... It's tough because I think the game could have really interesting ideas and could do something well. I think the story's really good. It's told without dialogue, so if the same movie was made where no dialogue and it was done completely through visuals, people would kind of love this movie, I think, in an interesting way because it does try something very ambitious and tells the story well. But the problem is games they haven't figured out the language for this. It's just a weird-ass language to be like... And so when I'm playing the game, I'm just constantly like going, and cut. And now you should cut. And now you should cut. You know, the editing is really off. I should also
point out at this point that Ben is a professional video editor.
Yes.
So I love you, Ben. And and I'm not going to lie. I'm there with you, brother. Like, we sit in front of movies sometimes, and both of us just kind of look at each other just like, okay, you needed to cut like 5 minutes ago. Like, that happened. I'm just saying, like, you know,
for sure.
I'm not taking anything
for
away
sure.
from
And I
you.
would like to hear someone who's not, like, you know, doesn't train in those sort of things and just watches a film, but can also say, you know, I could feel that this film isn't working for one reason or another. You know, I would like to see if people work with it because it's, to me, the problem is like I think it'd be a great idea to have a game that where you could basically kind of edit yourself. That'd be interesting. Where it'd be like, okay, the emotional beat's lasting long enough. Now I should go. You know what I mean? And like you can instinctually go like, now I should walk through the door. Now I should hold it. You know? And people do that sometimes. I've heard people say like, oh, in this cutscene or this moment, you know, you have to do this one thing, and I just stayed there for like 2 minutes because it just felt so right or something. So I think games have tried this before, but I just think this model doesn't work for this game. It's just too all over the place.
Yeah. Well, one of the other things is like I think like even as I say is like, oh, you know, you're an editor and all this. I find that a lot of times people will still come around to saying the same thing. Like even like people that just generally watch cinema will come back around and say like, oh, that game felt quote unquote awkward,
right.
and they don't know why. But I do still find
and I was reading a lot of the negative
that when you or
reviews
me
other than like the non-functionality, which you always see with these Firewatch kind of games. That was one of the big ones. Like it feels awkward. Yeah. Sorry.
Right. There's no interaction. It doesn't feel like. I feel like Firewatch is very well directed in terms of like. I mean, these games are like all trying to figure out ways to direct your eye and direct your experience without actually directing you. Like is the key that, like, you know, for some games they're heading in the open world direction, and then on the indie scene for cost purposes, and you know, because it can be the indie scene, they're heading in the exact opposite direction, trying to create an experience as much as possible. So it's 1v1.
Yeah. And I also think that games have developed their own cinematic language, and I think they have been working for a long time, and I don't think there's really necessarily a problem with the way they are function as an art form. And I think what makes them interesting is that unbroken shot and that interactivity, and the fact you don't sort of feel that there are no cuts, you know, and the situation jumping into basically a movie has felt a lot more integrated. It's one thing I'll say for God of War. It's like, even the QTEs can die in a fiery pit of hell, they do kind of invest the way, they do make a good way of reframing shots in a very interesting way. But
they're cutscenes, essentially, and I think that the QTE factors into like how they frame the cutscene.
Yeah, and they give a nice little like change of rhythm to the look of the game. But I also think it's like games have their own visuals, and I think this game, I appreciate that it tried, but I think it failed, quite frankly. Even though it's interesting in some parts.
Well, this is the other thing is, like, I was talking this weekend, like, I just saw Shin Godzilla, and we'll actually review it later, like we're seeing it several weeks before we actually review it. But one of the things that hit me is that Anno is an anime director, and things that play in anime do not necessarily play in film. Like, and he directs film somewhat like Ozu in terms of like his shot composition of him just pulling the fuck back on a boardroom and that being the shot, or like he does no mid-distance shots. He's like way wide, or he's like super intro close of somebody fiddling with papers, and it's such an anime thing. And it was just, and I was just like, the whole time I was like, like the cinematic language just didn't work for me as a movie.
Yeah.
Which was interesting.
Yeah, no, I totally agree, and I think it's the same thing here. These are video game makers trying to make a movie, and not a game that tries to use movie logic. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. They need like one of the games that I thought was really great at this, and you can get, I know that people like who's the French, the French guy, he sounds like a this, and he talks, and he's very French, and he wants you to emote in his games. What's his name?
I don't know.
No. It's he does Fahrenheit, and
that guy.
He did
David Cage.
Yeah, I want you to emote. I know how he sounds.
Yeah.
Emote. You need to emote like Ellen Page and William Dafoe in my game. Did you know I got actors to act in my game? They emote with them. Sorry.
My goodness.
That's him.
Yeah.
in every interview, he just talks like that.
Right, and Cage is a similar thing where it's like, I feel like they're trying to make movies instead of games using cinematic language. And I think hopefully there will be a game maker that kind of figures it out, but I think games have good cinematic language and their own version of it. And I don't know what you would call it, but they have their own visual language that works. And I appreciate them trying, but I just don't think it worked because the pace was just way off.
Yeah. Peter, what did you watch this week? I know it's by.
What did I watch this week? It became about movies.
No. What did you play? Apologies. I'm so sorry. David Cage. That's his name. David Cage. That's who he is.
That's like your burn whenever you play like a walking sim game. Hey, what'd you watch this week?
What did you experience this week?
What did you emote?
Oh my god.
Sorry, Peter.
All right, Peter. Please tell me.
I played 2 games this week. I've continued playing Mirror's Edge Catalyst, which we talked about in the last episode, and I have been playing Sleeping Dogs through Steam, which is essentially like a Hong Kong cop film. So like. I had a friend describe it to me before I bought it because I got it on sale. Yay! He was like, yeah, it's pretty much like Grand Theft Auto but in Hong Kong, and you're undercover cop. And I was like, sold, done. And it's been a lot of fun so far. I played like maybe 10-15 hours so far, and I'm thoroughly enjoying it because I remember when it came out. I remember when it originally came out, but I just was not able to buy it at the time. Because I was like a teenager in high school and I had no money, and then I was playing other shit. But now I'm like, nope, I can do this. I have a gaming laptop and I'm having a fun time. It's great. Yay!
Yeah.
So I wanted to say in my continuing Dark Souls, the first one, go on. I finally got to the Painted World, and have successfully gotten through the Painted World. And I'm gonna just say this, having experienced my first optional boss in Dark Souls. An optional boss for Jack in Dark Souls means it's a boss I didn't play. I'm just saying.
He was like, I'm gonna just skip this
Like,
ish.
Priscilla is not even that particularly hard, and I'm just like, oh no. So anyways, but I actually, since I got through that and I needed a break from that, I've gone and gotten, so I played a while ago, I played Fire Emblem Fates Birthright, and I played the secondary. It has 2 routes, and it has 2 very, very different routes, and the second one is called Conquest, and this one is insanely different, and I never knew the difference. The difference in the difficulty between the 2 routes, and that's the thing, is like everyone at first was like, oh, it's Pokemon Red and Pokemon Blue. The difficulty in the routes is absolutely insane, because it actually has like it's actually motivated by the game background, because in the Conquest mode, you're like, your father is essentially trying to kill you and sends you on suicide missions, so the fucking missions are just way harder. And it caught me off guard that it was just like the game, it was like Birthright, the other game, essentially just on hard mode. It's amazing, and as with all Fire Emblem, there's nothing to say. They're just great. There's no other gaming experience like them, so go get them. They're great. I don't know why I'm shilling for Fire Emblem.
Have you lost any major party members for forever?
Yes, I have. Fire Emblem does this thing sometimes where it's like, I don't find it as good in Fates because certain party members are truly necessary for the story. So they do this thing, when you kill them off, you can't access them in fights anymore, but it's like they've just been injured. So they're still in the story, but they're just not in your team.
Huh.
And I hate that.
Oh, that's not the same.
Exactly.
The same consequences.
Exactly. I mean, nothing will ever beat me, like in Fire Emblem Awakening, losing a major character that had been the bulwark of my thing and it destroying my team, and like me actually emotional about that loss.
Exactly.
Like I forget who he was. He was the first like heavy knight, and the thing about him is he was so much stronger than all your characters when you give him. It's designed that way, but the issue is I lost him in a turn-based thing, and because I kept having him to past a specific level, I kept using him in such a way so he died every time, and I was like, okay, I'm not getting out of this without killing him, and I did, and I was just like, I had to let you go. We'll fight on. It was great, and I love that about Fire Emblem, but yeah. I think what made me upset is that I lost a core character. That there's just a set of core characters, and it actually surprised me. Because one of the ninjas randomly was a core character that was super necessary, because I just think they rendered cutscenes with him and used him as a stand-in character for a lot of things. But he was just super. You can't kill him off, and I was just like, well, that's annoying. I don't know, especially with some of the family members too, because they have specific death scenarios. And
well, that's the tough thing that Fire Emblem has done, because XCOM get away with killing every single one of your party members because they're just random people. You can literally change their faces and who they are and everything, where they're trying to tell actual stories with characters. It's they've always balanced that pretty well, but I can understand if you get more and more complicated stories, it gets really tough.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's the thing, is it's the same sort of thing with the difference between having you have this massive cast and it's designed to lose certain characters and certain other things and build people up. But the issue is that, coming back around, for certain characters, it's just well, shit. We can't lose that character if we want to have this story. And I get that and I appreciate it, but when my songstress died and she's just injured and can't be used, yeah, she's effectively died to me. But she's still in the story and is interacting with the character, except she's not available to get married to me now. Apparently the injury is now disfiguring too, and my character just doesn't want to marry her. It's one of those things. I was because you lose, she's apparently she's just injured and can't fight anymore, and that's cool. I'm cool with that, but don't then remove her from all aspects of the game except the story. It's very weird. It's she got a shot in the face, and she's just I'm too hideous to be seen, and it's weird because with the songstress character, I literally from the context interpreted it that way. It's just
you need to pull that coma card, Fire Emblem. Put everybody in a coma.
Yeah, I mean that's exactly what she does. She just wakes up from the coma for an important story.
And he goes back into the coma.
For whatever reason, Yeah, no, she like immediately back
coma.
into a coma. She just like wakes up and fights through it. Like, and that, I'm not gonna lie, like Fire Emblem does so much story bullshit sometimes. That's fine, but like I would respect them for that. Other than like this weird, I'm injured, so I can't be part of certain parts of the story now.
Yeah.
All right, so we really need to move on. And clearly, Trevor has been playing Uranium, but we will get to that. Don't worry, Trevor. Trevor?
Yeah, no worries.
No worries. Okay.
That was a check-in.
All right, so we had to talk to a couple things. It was a check-in. I feel like we need to get you to the thing. I was like, oh, what are we 20 minutes in? Oh shit. Okay, so let's get through news really fast, guys. So, big things this week. PSVR was released. The industry hasn't exploded. I feel like we have to say something about this a little bit, even though not one of us. I have tried a PSVR. I do not own one. Has anyone else been able to catch one of the demos at Best Buy?
No, I need to go go look at some, but I've not.
Yeah, I'll say this from my experience. I had a really good demo because of my job. They were actually trying to sell us ones because for my job with simulation, they wanted us to integrate Vive into some of our simulations and some other things. So I actually got some actual programmers come out with like the Vive and set it up and did some cool things, and I got to run through their like program thing, which was really cool to see. Like I did the one with the whale underwater, which really freaked me the fuck out. I think it's really awkward. It's a whale. Like they don't even do the stupid shark thing you see in commercials with whatever the Galaxy phone one is, but they do the one with the whale where you're going around, you're just on a ship, it's underwater, there's things floating around, you're cool, and then you see a 2-scale whale and just the mammothnesss of the whale and the space like really freaks you out. Like my boss literally took the headset off when the whale showed up and was like, nope, I'm done, I'm gone. And she like left. She's like a very highly professional woman and literally just took the headset off, put the things down, and left the room. She was like done.
Like we are not doing this. No thank you.
I was like, okay. I mean, I think that's the power of VR. I think the PSVR is a lot weaker than the Vive. Obviously, it's a fuck ton cheaper though.
Right. Well, that's the thing PlayStation's always good at, and I saw a recent article that said like comparing the amount of articles written about the PlayStation VR launch versus the Vive and Oculus launches, and it's like almost double or triple. It's crazy because I think A, they're regrettable at marketing, and B, they are always been a company that has pushed technology, which is why I think this one matters so much, because obviously I think most people credit them for saving the Blu-ray and being the reason Blu-ray won out. Porn obviously helped too, but like I think even more than porn for once, PlayStation mattered more than that. And so I think it matters for sure that even if it is a lower res VR, you have to sell the entire purpose of VR to gamers.
Right. And my guess, and this is the other thing, is like, and there's a lot of thought pieces out there. I kind of have to agree with this. The idea that like PlayStation is pushing VR so hard. Shut up.
Are they pushing?
Jesus, guys. Shut up. Oh my God. I hate you all. They're pushing VR so hard, and this is why the PS4 Pro exists. They know that they can give this kind of half resolutions thing on the PSVR right now. Maybe they can push the power of it with the Pro, and we just don't know that. And maybe that's where they try to transition people into a PS4 Pro. Yeah. Like this is them saying, here's, what we can't sell people an $800 headset. All right, we'll give you the headset at like $400, and then we'll put out this new console, and then eventually we'll have games that really only play on the PS VR Pro.
Good.
Like, and that's what they'll call it, like PSVR.
Right,
Pro.
Like we're not going to really know
there's like
if
games
this is a good strategy to like 3 or 4 years.
Yeah,
because that's the same thing that happened with Blu-ray, is that they were selling it at a loss for so long. PS3 and
I would argue the PS3 saved Bluray, but wasn't itself.
It's the PS3
a good
itself
strategy.
Was at a loss, right? But it saved both Blu-ray.
No. So the PS3 was never at a loss.
I thought it was a cost.
I mean, they sold
lower than
they sold the console at the loss, but the net overall was successful.
Oh, okay.
Because I mean, it wasn't in comparison to the.
Right? Like the actual
exactly the actual unit was at a loss, but the games they sold overall, it was still a successful strategy. It just wasn't meteoric as compared to the Xbox 360.
Right, it was a long game thing. Yeah.
Exactly. They played a long game and theoretically lost in comparison to the 360 at the end of the cycle, because 360 got away with essentially selling two consoles in the cycle as well, for most of the early adopters. Because everyone bought a secondary. Like, I have an Xbox 360. It does not have HDMI on it.
That's right. That is right.
Well, shit.
Yeah, and like, name me a guy who's like playing 360 now with an HDMI. They really did buy two 360s in the last cycle, and it's something that people don't really talk about. And that happens too. Is like people get secondary stuff.
Kill them all.
Yeah, well, I mean, you give the Xbox One credit. It's like people are like, "Oh my god, I wish the 360 was here." It's like, "Oh no, the 360 was not a good machine, guys. I'm sorry." Are we all forgetting this?
My old 360 was held together with bungee cords because I had to hold like the drive and the external hard drive together so hard, or it wouldn't turn on.
With bungee cords?
Yeah, it was like
it's hilarious.
Cords, so like it was hold on as hard as possible.
Oh my
god! There's like no harder PS3 guy, than me, and I'm not necessarily a Sony fanboy. Specifically, right now, you guys remember my rant about the Pro, and I'm so upset about it. But
yes,
but like, I was a hardcore PS3 guy. My Xbox 360 actually never red ringed. My day one Xbox 360 never red ringed on me. Wow. It still works. I still play it.
That's amazing. Katie
played. I forget what she played. Oh, what was it? Oh no, she's playing on my my PS3, which is actually having problems now. But in fairness, it probably, because I was such a PS3 heavy guy in college, I probably played it like almost 10 times as much as the Xbox. So miles and hours and whatever. So who knows? Anyways, moving on. So obviously, there's going to be some big releases coming next week: Battlefield 1 and Civilization 6. Woo. Ben, are you excited about Civilization 6? I know you're kind of more the PC gaming guy on this one.
Yeah, I kind of am. I have a very specific gaming need, which is games I can play podcasts and listen podcasts to, which is that I have a lot of podcasts, and sometimes I just want to listen to podcasts and take up time, and usually you do chores or other work or something, but video games are kind of perfect for that, and Civ is totally perfect for that. I mean, the voice acting is very good, but once you've heard it all, the first couple times you've heard it all. You know what Leonard Nimoy's
we really should have, like, you and me specifically, Ben, should have gone into professions where we can listen to podcasts while doing our work, because I cannot listen to a podcast.
I can during wedding videos for some parts of it.
Oh, like B-roll organization stuff. Yeah, I mean, I can do that.
I can totally listen to podcasts. It's great. That part's great. I'm like such a bummed out when I feel like I gotta listen to the audio or pick music. It's just like such a bummer.
You're like, oh no, I gotta take my podcast off. Yeah. Okay.
I have 98 episodes booked. It's bad. So, anyways, I'm excited for that, but not just because of that. Because I think Civ is interesting. I know it's more of a cartoony look, but my major problem with Civ 5 is that it doesn't really matter on the map, but the map is such a nightmare to look at. Everything's such bundled together, especially once you start adding a bunch of pyramids and special wonders and roads. It just doesn't look like anything makes much sense. So my hope is that Civ 6, even if it does look more cartoony, it's more streamlined. I know people are going to say, oh, it looks like Clash of Clans. Like, I don't care. As long as it plays like a Civ game and does really well, I'm excited. So I'm not looking for much of an improvement. I'm just looking for a good
Are you worried based upon kind of the general, for me, and I think a lot of other people, the general failure of, what was it, Civ? No, it wasn't Civ 5, but the future Civ. What was it? It was
oh yeah, I know what you're talking about. After Earth.
Yeah,
or something.
where it was like
beyond Earth.
Yeah, where they literally, and they just essentially removed a lot of civilization functionality.
I will wait with Civ, because even the reviews aren't going to be perfect. I think you just have to the problem with Civ, you got to bang out 50 hours, where you can kind of see all the flaws.
I love you, but I cannot, and that's just scales of time, because let's be honest.
That's why I'm gonna make other people do it first. I'm
gonna wait. No, yeah, I put 800 hours into Dark Souls, and I'm like 50 hours for fucking Civ. Oh my god! And I'm no one to talk here, specifically because I'm bad at Dark Souls. I've probably put in 800 hours between the Bloodborne and Dark Souls 3 and 2.
Yeah.
I mean 3 and 1.
So I'll probably wait on that one and see. I'm curious about Battlefield 1 because apparently the single player is really good, which is shocking for a Battlefield game. Battlefield game with a good single player campaign is unbelievable. So maybe it's just decent. So I'll be curious again to see on that one, but not sure.
It's competent. That's what people are impressed
maybe.
with.
That could be. That could be.
You know that is true. People like Infinity War, and people like COD's campaigns. And I think that's justly earned, because if you played a Battlefield campaign versus a COD campaign in the last couple of years, there's no comparison. I mean, Ghosts and like some of COD's missteps aside, like, but even the most recent, like, I think specifically, Black Ops 3 was pretty good, and I think that Infinity War, and I think this is my thing. I'm not unexcited about Infinity War, and I'm kind of upset about how much shit it gets. And they're like, "Oh, it's so backwards," and I was like, "No, I like this setting." And you know what? Even more so, the game I'm actually super excited in terms of a shooter is actually like Titanfall 2, because they're gonna give us a bloody campaign, and that Titan looks so fucking cool. Like,
it really does. I remember when they showed that trailer at E3 earlier this summer, and I was like,
when he like talks to it and he like screams its name, and he's like BB, and it runs out onto the platform and catches him. Or the part where like he like literally jumps out of the mech, jumps in the mech's hand, and then the mech like throws him across the map.
I watched the trailer and I was like, damn, like I'm impressed by this. Like I doubt I'll buy the game, but I was like, I doubt I'll buy it, but I was like, shit, I'm interested.
That's the thing is, I think Titanfall is going to do. Titanfall was for a minute, because of the Infinity Ward guys that left and started it up, was going to be the new game, and they really bungled it with the last one. They really bungled it with the Xbox exclusivity for the Xbox One, and they really bungled it in terms of like, because the only reason I played it is because I never got an Xbox One. I don't own one, but I got the backwards 360 version, which servers were never like great on, which is kind of hard in a multiplayer only game, and B, I never got really that great. That graphical downgrade was pretty hardcore in a game that was released on both Xbox One and 360. For me, it was pretty bad, I thought.
Totally.
But I love that game. I love that
game.
Oh, yeah.
By the way, Jack, the future Civilization game that you're talking about, Civilization Beyond Earth.
Yeah, I knew it was something stupid like that.
Yeah.
After that terrible Night Shyamalan movie, that's what that was.
Beyond Earth. Will Smith's son looks mopey.
AE. Whatever the hell that
we
game
need
was.
more metaphors about him trying to make his own son into a movie star.
So...
What was the famous like 4chan Will Smith's son quote where he was
how could
which one?
mirrors be real if our eyes aren't real, or something? How can we see mirrors? I need the actual quote. It's such a good line.
Oh my god. Oh my god, I forgot about that.
And then Jaden Smith goes ahead and stars on the Netflix original series The Get Down, which I need to finish, by the way.
Yeah,
Wasn't
I
she
said that
the
right.
villain on Gotham too?
Yeah.
Jada Pinkett?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
He paid for her like terrible rock band. And like paid to have the seats filled.
I want to include one sentence here, guys. So, I'm pretty sure I know where everyone stands. I know where you stand, definitely, Ben. But Beyond Good and Evil 2 announced. Announced, air quotes.
The biggest
a lot of air quotes.
I think it was announced like 10 years ago now.
Seriously.
Like it's actually probably got a longer development cycle than Last Guardian, which is actually coming out.
Yeah. So that's the thing. But Last Guardian and Beyond Good and Evil 2, until I have them in my hand, I don't believe them.
It was like I would not be surprised if I bought a box for The Last Guardian. I got it home and it was empty, and I'd be like, "It's a giant." Yeah, I know. Literally, it's like a metaphor for something. He's like unpossibilities, and then just like open it up, and it's just like sand.
Yeah, I think it just says friendship or something. Honestly, the treasure was always friendship or something. God.
Honestly, at this point, even though like they're quote deep in development for it, that's pretty much how I'm starting to see Kingdom Hearts 3. It's like until I'm holding it, I don't believe it. Until I'm holding it, I don't believe it legitimately exists. It's just not a thing.
Fuck that bit with the Kingdom Hearts bit, because I'm sorry, man. Like I'm so upset sometimes about the way Kingdom Hearts.
How do you feel
as
a Half-Life 3
Wait,
person? I get it's a joke, but it actually physically makes me mad. Like I am really sad.
Why didn't they fucking make it? I get that there was like tons of expectation, but like I don't get why they just why they left us hanging for years,
exactly.
and then said no. Like the way they did it was just such dicks.
That's a bum.
What specifically are you talking
Half-Life 3.
Well,
I was talking about Half-Life 3.
Half-Life 3.
Oh my god, yeah.
And the fact they came out with a news story and they kind of set it up, and I figured that was why they did it, why they released like extra games and tried to say it. Oh, we'll go monthly and do these. They weren't so hard to put together that they couldn't have released more of them and done things like that. We didn't need more out of them. We just needed a story to fucking
seriously. Just give me a novel or something. Give me
because they took like not a great story from the first game, and then they made it interesting. They made it very interesting in the second one, and then they just said, "Okay, we're not going to finish it. Fuck you." Which is, actually, that's what we should petition fucking Greg Newell to. It's Greg Newell, right?
Gabe
I haven't
Newell.
talked about him in a while.
Gabe Newell.
Jesus. I wonder who Greg Newell is. Poor guy. Sorry, I don't mean to tar you with a different brush. Sorry, Greg Newell. I honestly say that because I feel like I know a Greg Newell like at work or somewhere. And I'm just like shitting on him. Fuck you, Greg Newell. Sorry.
Greg Newell is technically the father of spring break in Fort Lauderdale, California. Fort Lauderdale, Florida.
What? Did you look it up?
What? Oh my god.
Oh my god.
It says,
let's hear my ridiculously loud
time
keyboard.
to recognize Greg Newell as the father of spring break. That's the first article that came up.
That's so weird.
Oh my god, it's right here. Oh my god, look at this dude. He looks so bro.
He started spring break. He's ultimate bro.
I found his LinkedIn.
Oh man.
Oh god.
Oh my god.
Well,
right, we need to move on. Okay.
I just hope someday they make a fan game that finishes Half-Life 3. Segway? No.
Oh my god.
No. We got. Oh yeah. Let's segue. That was solid, Ben.
Yeah.
I'm cutting the last story. We need to cut the last story. Yeah. Okay. So we wanted to talk this week real quick about Pokemon Uranium. Trevor, we have the lovely Trevor friend here who actually went through and played the whole game for us.
Yay.
And he's going to come on for a guest review. First off, I want to plug. He's going to put a full in-depth review up on the TuscanShed.com. That's Tuscan Shed Media Network. Go check that out. You should always go check that out if you're listening to this thing. I can't believe you haven't been there yet. So go there. Trevor, take it away. What did you think of Pokemon Uranium?
So I've had a Pokemon itch to scratch since the whole Pokemon Go phenomenon thing happened, and this came along at the perfect time for me. It is Pokemon Uranium is basically the Pokemon fan-made game to end all Pokemon fan-made games, in my opinion.
It's a full game. That's the craziest thing.
That's the unique thing is I discovered once I went for this that there are actually a lot of ones out there. But what is unique about Uranium right away is that it's been in development for 9 years.
It's crazy.
9 years. This person, Twitch, involuntary Twitch, is 25 years old. She's as old as we are, and she's already made a fully complete RPG. So, another thing that's different about it, as far as the other stuff that's out there, I'm not sure that it is necessarily the darkest fan-made Pokemon game, but it's pretty dark. There's a prologue to this game, and instead of like with most Pokemon games, how you kind of just like have this a single mom that's your only parent, and you just have no idea where your dad is for whatever reason. In this one, your mother was a nuclear physicist who is presumed dead in a nuclear meltdown, and your father is just thrown himself into work over his grief. So you live with your grandmother, who, it turns out, can't support you anymore, so you have to go be a Pokemon trainer just to have a job.
Wow.
Isn't something the story necessarily commits to. It's not like, the professor pays you or anything, but it's just kind of ostensibly the setup of it. And the story itself is pretty good too. Like the name Uranium suggests, it basically takes the whole dilemma of nuclear power and just its consequences and throws that into the Pokemon universe. So you have like nuclear contaminated Pokemon that are just wild and attacking people everywhere. So the villain in this story is not actually people. It's a Pokemon. It's kind of like Mewtwo meets Godzilla. It's this nuclear type Pokemon that's just running around the region, sabotaging different nuclear plants, and you have to stop it. So,
which is kind of the coolest thing ever.
Yeah, that sounds
really cool
super badass.
Yeah, and I mean, especially like I think this is the thing that I've always wanted. I've never wanted I never really wanted Pokemon to deal with kind of the the animal cockfighting element of it, which has been a focus of
one. Yeah,
Right.
which is funny and cool, and I think there's more complicated bits in the background of the Pokemon universe that really kind of like people that actually play the game. There's so much going on in the background that like scratches that there's so many itches you want scratched about these games, and I'm glad that there's this game that is actually touching on it and using it as a universe to actually make it interesting. What would you think? Would you recommend it, Trevor, overall?
Yeah, absolutely. I've really enjoyed it. Partly for me, the other fan-made Pokemon game I played just before I found out about this one was Light Platinum, and that just kind of got me like wanting something like this because it's the fun thing about it is there's like with a lot of the other ones, there's a lot of homage to the original games. You walk around and people are playing Red and Blue inside the game, and their parents are like worried that they're not playing outside anymore, just like in the 90s when I was growing up. And that's just, there's a lot of like little touches like that really just show how much the people who made this game just love the universe and really want to demonstrate that. As for like the mechanics and the gameplay, it really truly is kind of an homage. The gym system is still all there. The championship, it really doesn't change too much of the core gameplay other than actually just the nuclear type, which the concept is it's highly reactive. So nuclear type moves are super effective against everything but other nuclear type Pokemon and steel type Pokemon. And they're also nuclear type Pokemon are also weak against everything except other nuclear types. So
it's like just a high damage, high reward, and then steel fucks all of them up.
Right. That's the other thing too, is nearly every Pokemon in the game is dual type. So it's allergic to nuclear type because it has two types that are both.
Wow, so it gets a double damage booster.
Yeah.
No, because everything does that. Because some Pokemon do that, especially like because if you get like something with a flying, like let's say you have a Charizard and it's like a flying. It's like a flying fire Pokemon. If you get a double damage, it does triple up like that and like do that in the main game. So I feel like the Pokemon system is actually super developed, and I think that transitioning it over, like I'm really glad to hear that. Like, and especially like what I've played of it, I really like this game as a concept. I think I don't necessarily know that it's interesting to me that they did Steel, and clearly they were just making a. Because you never get, and even in this game, I mean, did you get a Steel Pokemon early on?
Oh yeah, and they kind of give you a warning up front that you're kind of gonna need one. And there's also one that it kind of did appeal to me right away, just because it was a pure Steel type, and I don't think that's something that they've had a lot of Pokemon like that before.
No, they have. I mean, that's the thing is like you don't get a Pokemon, and I mean, I remember like in like I think it was Gold, and I was playing along, and I remember like it was a big fucking deal when I got a Steelix. Because I had to trade it with something to do it and all this other shit. Yeah. And I finally got a Steelix and I was freaking out about it. And it was a terrible fucking Pokemon, just like Onix is.
Right, because it's slow and it's still ground. It's steel ground, I think. So it's still weak to a whole bunch of shit.
Exactly. It's like because like almost all steel Pokemon are double combinations of something. So they'd still take tons of damage. Like I don't know what was the Pokemon specific to this game, the pure steel type. Because I didn't even know there is a pure steel type.
Yeah, absolutely. That's the other great thing about Uranium is it's almost all original designs, Fakemon as they call it. They're all really great. Some of the names are really creative. One of the starters, Raptorch, is a fire ground type, and its evolved form is Archilles. It's like Achilles, kind of, except it has like an arched foot, so it's just like a raptor. That's my favorite thing. I had to pick that one.
Okay, so here's according to Bulbapedia, there are 5 pure steel Pokemon, and then it is Mega Agron, Registeel, Clink, Clang, and Kling Clang.
Clink, that's great.
Wait, I'm sorry. Repeat that. What was that?
Yeah, so there's only 5 pure steel types, and again, this is not Uranium. This is just like pure Pokemon, I believe.
Right.
There's Mega Agron, Registeel, Clink, Clang, and Clink Clang, which is the fully evolved. So it's a 3 evolution Pokemon, and it's Clink, and it's just like 2 gears together, and then it evolves into Clang, which is like 3 gears together, coughing style, and then it goes to Clink Clang, which is just a whole bunch of shit in a pile.
Yeah, this is going to be where I bring up that how original and great these designs were, whereas some of the more recent official Pokemon, like
they're
garbage
kind of
can, not so much. Yeah.
And like especially with these new like evolutions that are coming out of the woodwork, where it's just like, and now it's a super tall giraffe, like whatever.
Oh, the new Executor one, where it's just like a palm
he's
tree,
just
like a really tall
giraffe.
tree.
Yeah, exactly. It makes no sense. Ben, you were saying something.
Yeah, I'm gonna ask this question and then head out when you guys keep talking, just because I have to leave for different reasons. But I'm curious because one of the things that a lot of people have criticized, at least for me, is that the core gameplay never changes. They just kind of change up the minor things here or there. And this game sounds like it does something similar. Do you wish that this game kind of took a more diverse of risks in terms of the actual gameplay, or do you like that it's trying to like say, okay, let's keep the core gameplay everyone loves, but let's make the story a little more interesting, let's make the designs a little more interesting, let's kind of do what they're failing at with their core issues?
Yeah, I will say the problem that I do have with pretty much every Pokemon game is when the plot and the championship is over and I have all these Pokemon I've collected, but I don't really have anything to do with them. So that's definitely not something that gets around, other than the fact that they have an online trading, and battle server, unofficial, official server, where you can do that now. So that's kind of keeping me going playing it. But yeah, in terms of like in-game, I don't know. Part of me I definitely get that argument about the Pokemon games for certain. It is kind of like that itch that you keep going back to scratch after it's been long enough.
Well, that's the thing I think is like I love James Bond movies and I love Zelda games, and they both have been criticized for doing the same thing over and over again. So if there is a certain formula you love, I see no problem going back to it. But I've never gone back to Pokemon for that reason, because it's just not a formula.
Yeah.
I got my itch out when I was a kid, and I've never really wanted to go back, but I can understand why other people want to go back. So I guess I'm just curious if you felt like it's scratching that same itch of like that kind of that you're looking for. Like when I look for a great James Bond film, it has to sort of live up to these specific expectations that I expect for a Bond film, not so much in the other film. And do you feel like it's the same thing for you? Like it's living up to those kind of Pokemon formulas that you like?
Yeah, and the story is really what makes it worth it for me. It's just like that, and like the gym leaders in this one have actual character, and your relationship to the different non-player characters kind of feels a little bit more organic.
Nice.
So I want to jump in here and say, like, I've played Pokemon X and I played Pokemon Y. Apologies, I have not played Pokemon X. Same series, just same story, same sort of thing. It's red blue type of thing. But for me, like, the issue with the difference is that Pokemon Y and X are evolving the gameplay in different ways, while because it brings in the fourth type. It brings in a primary, like a mega evolution style for a stat bonus increase for the Pokemon, and kind of changes up the way you play Pokemon a little bit more significantly than what's happening here. But for that bit, like, it changes up significantly the way it is, and that's the thing, is that it's two sides to the coin. Pokemon X is going in a different direction, but they still do all the shitty things that Pokemon has always done with the story, in terms of it's always secondary. They always keep it cute and kitty, and I'm kind of glad this thing exists, because it's scratching an itch that's always wanted, as I always wanted to play these games, but I wanted it to take it in a dark direction. And that's the thing that I love most about this game, is this is what I wanted. I always wanted a darker Pokemon, because I'm older now. This is a Pokemon for older people, whereas they're still making kind of Pokemon at this point. Like, the company, I can tell, like, Game Freak sees no reason to age its source material. I mean, they did age in Y a little bit. Like, it gets a little bit intense with the story. It gets more intense with the story. So they've aged it a little bit, but they still haven't aged it to the same extent that Uranium, where there's like an overt references in story and character. And gym leaders have more character as well.
Yeah, like I know for me, I don't know if y'all remember. It was like 2 or 3 years ago. The guy who made the fan short film, like for Power Rangers. Like I remember when that was released. So I was like, okay, this is the itch that I wanted from Power Rangers. Where it's like, I still very much appreciate like what Saban and then Disney and then Saban again gave us with their series, but I appreciated it, at least those 7-8 minutes, however long that short film was, getting like that super dark adult violent Power Rangers that it's like, okay, I kind of want this.
Yeah. Trevor?
Yeah, I mean, Basically, yeah. It's like I said, I'm not sure if it actually is the darkest Pokemon game out there. But
so I wanted to ask you, what would you say is the darkest? Because you said this several times to me, and
Yeah.
for me, like, Uranium is clearly the darkest.
Well, this is where I need to defer to Sarah because I know she's played like all the fan game Pokemon games that there are.
Well, that was what I was gonna. Is White Platinum like more dark than this? You would say?
Oh, Light Platinum? No. Light Platinum's story is shit. I mean, there's like a nihilistic character in it who just monologues, and that's the extent of its darkness. No, I've heard...
Which is cool to see that in a game, but it just doesn't evolve what's going on.
I've heard, I think it is Insurgents. I keep getting it mixed up with a Star Trek subtitle, but it starts with an I. I'm pretty sure it's Insurgent. It has like Delta form Pokemon instead of nuclear type. It's kind of a similar concept. And I hear that one. I think that one might go more into like what Black and White tried to do with the like slave parallel to like
that was the thing is I never actually finished Y, so I kind of want to see the story too to the conclusion. So I'm sorry I can't say it here what actually entirely happens, but you have that sort of slavery motif going on in there as well. And I think that's the thing is like this one plays it. Y might be just as I don't think Uranium is more dark than Y. Y is good. Y just like increases characters and does all these things. I think like even more important to me is the fact that I want Pokemon to be more overt. Like why
let me say
is
this? Yeah, let me take off there actually with like why Uranium has made such a big impact on me as it has is the fact that nuclear energy and nuclear fallout is such an issue in Japan and it's in the national consciousness with it being the only country ever to have nuclear weapons used on it and after Fukushima. And this is a game that kind of just, it's not so subversive as to come out on the issue one way or another, but it does kind of call for accountability. And it makes a political statement in the way that Nintendo, with the Nintendo intellectual property in a way that Nintendo itself never possibly could.
Exactly.
And I do think that's
exactly
going for it.
And I think that's this is coming back around to the value of these games. Because let's talk for 1 second about the legality of these games. Obviously, this game was taken down. They were smart about it. They were successful by putting it up over a weekend, and Nintendo didn't pick up on it till after the fact. And then it got saved into a bunch of servers, and they were able to release patch notes. So the game is alive and online. And Nintendo would never fully be able to crush it, but that's because they were very, very tricky about it. We'll get to Metroid in a minute, who was not tricky about it and got screwed hardcore. But I think the thing is the legality of this is clear. It is Pokemon property. No one actually has the legal right to make these games.
Right, and a lot of people have been saying kind of that, why did you have to put the Pokemon name on it? You could have just, changed things a little bit, and then but I think it should be. I think that makes the statement it has all the more effective. And
I think that's the thing is building off a story, and I think that's the thing is we're getting more into a society that doesn't see brand recognition if somebody has the talent to take these things into things. It's like, why is Rainbow Rowell so effective as a fan fiction author and using the Harry Potter series and doing Harry slash Draco hot sexy gay romance stuff because she builds off the Harry Potter and she builds off this subset of people that really want to see Harry fuck Draco.
Or Draco fuck Harry.
Apologies, Peter.
Hey, no, I'm just saying. A lot of people like it both ways. I'm just
no, I agree with that. I'm not saying that. I just from my perspective in the Harry Potter, I always hated Draco, and I was just yeah, fuck him. And then it was this weird transition, and then she just fleshes him out as this super complicated character. Go read Rainbow Rowell. She's actually great. Katie made me read her, and I was like, okay.
Go read Harry Potter and the Method of Rationality. That's my favorite Harry Potter fan fiction.
I love knowing that oh my god, this is great.
Let's not gild the lily and talk about Jack's fan fiction habits and
let's not get it.
No,
slash fiction habits he may or may not have. ... Yeah. All right. Anyways, getting back to Pokemon Uranium. So the legality of it is clear. But for me, the nice thing about this game is that what you were saying earlier, Trevor, what does Uranium do that Pokemon games wouldn't do? Pokemon, I don't think a Japanese company would take this strong a stance on the subject matter.
Right, exactly. I mean,
do you?
You could argue that the Godzilla movie we just saw kind of does, but that's more of a directorial thing too. So.
Well, I was about to say that's different in terms of putting it in media for kids.
Yeah.
And I think that's the separation between this fan-made game. This is for the fans of the series that have grown up, versus like a Pokemon game today is still implicitly for children.
For children, yeah.
And I think that's the difference. And I think for me, like, I guess for me, it's like, what is Pokemon scared of? They're not going to buy X and Y. Like, that's not. The person that's downloading a fan Pokemon game is not going to not buy X and Y. Like,
no, I mean, you can get into the argument of it. People have said, and they've got like professional lawyers and shit like talking about it. That, like with copyright, you actually just have to defend your property.
Oh yeah, I'm not
giving.
giving. I wish it was a different way and we could lean back on the existing argument. But he's right. The moment that you don't defend your copyright, then everyone uses it, and it's essentially just like open. So like they'd be opening the doors.
The thing is, it doesn't actually matter that much either, because Pokemon Uranium, this is the latest in a string of things like this, where, I mean, it's kind of become the basic marketing strategy of fan game developers like this to keep, the lid on their development until they release it so that everybody can download it. There were 1.5 million downloads of this game in a week.
Oof.
And
Wow.
before Nintendo could do anything about it. And by that point, word has spread. People have started playing it. And you can put up again, they like literally call it the official, unofficial server on Reddit. And the game just lives on in the bowels of the internet from then on. And, like, unfortunately, like you were talking about with not another Metroid 2 remake, which has also been in development for, I think, years.
Yeah, and they were just like really open about the fact of what they were doing and got slapped early with it, and now they're just totally fucked.
Right. Which
because
a lot of
if they
people are
release
all
it
the
in
more
the
pissed
same
about
way,
it, because Nintendo, won't want to talk about branding, released a Metroid game for Metroid's around the time of Metroid's 30th anniversary, I think. We don't have like an actual Metroid game. Instead, we have a multiplayer called Metroid Prime
Federation Force, which is hilarious because Federation Force is not a bad game. It just is not a Metroid game. Is what people are upset about. It's just branding slapped on a different game, which is not a bad game. It's really kind of a ripoff of oddly what's the one with the balls and the cars. Oh God, what is wrong with me? Rocket Jump. Fuck.
Oh, Rocket League. Yeah.
Rocket League. Jesus Christ. I just played it like 20 minutes ago.
Such a fun game.
Christ.
Even though I suck at it.
It takes time, dude. Like, people are actually like really inherently like insanely good at that game now. Like people have taken that to the nth degree.
like my brother. He is like, I've watched him play that game. Yeah. My God, the shit he pulls off. Damn.
Like, they're literally like juggling a ball with a car. It's great. I mean, I just like, okay, cool. I'm not this good at anything. Cool. Whatever. Like, cool. I accept that I am mediocre in all things to you. Anyways, but I think that's the issue, is that like for with Metroid, like they got slammed, and now because that they were so open and got slammed before the game was even physically released, now if the game is released, that they essentially have to sue them for doing it because they know it ahead of time. Whereas this guy is just like, it's like a ask forgiveness later type of deal, and that from a legal standpoint really lessens the ability for Nintendo to punish them about it.
Right, and doesn't even have to get that serious. The I think what is it? DMA, DMCA, notice that the Uranium team got isn't. I mean, it doesn't have to go any farther than that. It's just, It's not an issue of anyone getting sued or losing money or going to court or trial or anything like that. It's just like kind of a courtesy notice, and the Uranium team almost happily complied immediately. Like, people on the internet got really butthurt and upset over it, partly because of, I think, like the precedent that Metroid debacle set. But the Uranium team is just like, no, we're good. Like, this is exactly what we wanted to happen.
Well, I think the thing is, like, that's what's supposed to happen. Versus with Nintendo, like, and again, we're treating Nintendo like they're the developers of Pokemon. They're not. Game Freak is.
Right.
So again, you have to realize there's two different companies having two different responses here, and I think that's kind of clear. And I think that's the thing, is like Nintendo is doing a lot of really shitty stuff in the consumer space with streaming, where it's like you can only stream it if you buy into kind of their sort of like platform where you give them money to stream their games, and they're doing all this stuff like trying to kill any sort of Nintendo game on Twitch, and they're killing their online things. And it's just because Nintendo.
Everybody?
What's up?
Are they exponing everybody?
What do you mean?
Like when the Xbox One was released and they said they were going to do all these anti-consumer practices, and then
No, well, that's the thing is like the issue is that the Xbox One heard people get pissed about it. Sony won and then pushed back against them. The Wii U has a lot of pushback, but not on this subject. And I think Nintendo is just particularly tone deaf to this kind of criticism sometimes. and that's the bit here that's kind of bothering me, is that they feel tone deaf, and that's why there's so much more pressure from the Metroid game. For me, Game Freak, because there's so many already fan games made on the Pokemon world, and it's like the only thing that Game Freak actually makes, like, I don't feel upset about that. Nintendo is just another long list of them consumer practices, and also the proactive way that they defended the Metroid trademark when they're not giving us a game. Because they got them before they released it, and that screws them.
Right.
That screws the games. And not to be offensive, but Metroid was pretty, again, there's probably more. Nintendo is putting more resources into protecting the Metroid copyright than Game Freak probably is into protecting the Pokemon copyright. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Or probably Nintendo is helping them protect the Pokemon copyright. I'm not entirely certain on that.
So. Yeah, I don't know about the legal shenanigans that far in, but.
Yeah, I mean that's I'd have to get Katie on the cast to really dig through that. From her perspective, though, and for what I've talked to Sean, so our two legal consultants on the cast, one is actually a lawyer now, so that's kind of cool.
Yay!
From his perspective, there's no, it's cut and dry. It's and this is this weird thing. He's like, I guess it's kind of a dick move on doing it, but they have to do it essentially, like it's perfectly done. But I think at this point, like it's like a wink, wink, nudge, nudge. The issue for me is that the way that Nintendo's doing it, there's no wink, nudge to how they treated the Metroid fan game, and that's the thing is that it feels like two different company responses, and I think that people can be justifiably mad about what Nintendo did, which is like they're super active in protecting their copyright and then not releasing the games. It's like, you love Zelda? Well, fuck you. Buy the next console. And I think that's the other thing is like they're very Mac based. That's they're very like not Mac based. I mean, but like they're based in terms of like creating their own hardware, and their games are only on that hardware.
Right.
That's the thing is like. Right. If we want to get down to it, Nintendo is getting away with terrible anti-consumer practices just because that's always what they've done. Like they never left the Nintendo 64 cartridge console generation, and they went to discs like screaming and kicking because they were getting their pants kicked off during the GameCube era. Like they only went there begrudgingly, and I think it's clear to me that Nintendo will only ever do things good for. I mean, they do a lot of good things. They really want people to buy the console.
It's kind of a paradox because on the one hand they are like Apple, like you were saying, kind of for the Freudian slip. And that they are innovating, and then like a lot of the stuff they did, like they did the Wii, and then the Kinect came out. Like it's that 1-to-1. Like they are innovating hardware, but at the same time, you're right. I mean, they kind of get dragged along at the same time.
I think that's the thing is like Nintendo has. I feel like the things people are, Nintendo is going down the drain. No, they're not. They have like if you look at their company, they're super solid. They have the survivability to keep lasting.
Yeah, they're fine.
Yeah, there's nothing wrong with Nintendo. They can keep doing this. Sony and Microsoft, because of the way their companies are structured and because there's a larger overhead and issues going on, actually are probably under more pressure than Nintendo is because Nintendo is just a game company.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Whereas if that's what we see, who was gonna kick Iwata out in the old day, like they would have to go way downhill than they were in the Wii U generation. No one was going to kick Iwata out. I mean, especially because he was sick at the time. But that's what I'm saying is like that's not something that happens. Whereas like we've seen the head of Xbox be replaced. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And let's be honest, this PS4 generation, up till now they've been killing it in terms of advertising, and that's I think is the thing we see like the CEOs of these divisions get replaced and get them folded into general gaming and all these other things. Like the whole companies are getting shifted around quite a bit. And I think that implies to me that there's more internal pressure on Xbox One and PS4, and that might be why they're innovating and doing better consumer practices. I mean, I think they're both doing better consumer practices. I feel like we forced Xbox One there kicking and screaming because they would have done all sorts of terrible DCMA stuff that even Nintendo hadn't thought about, but we made sure they didn't, which is, again, a thing I will always be a PS even if they're doing terrible things now with the Pro, I will always be a PlayStation fan for making it so that Xbox couldn't do a bunch of shit this generation.
Yeah.
They didn't get away with it because the PS4 went the way it did.
That E3 conference will forever be like a hilarious moment in gaming history.
Yeah, because like Xbox goes and then PS4 comes out and just like drops the mic all over the goddamn place, and it's oh, you did this, we did this, you did this, we did this.
We will not be doing any of those things.
Right? Like, that's just all they had is. It's like Hillary Clinton tonight. Like she just has to go out there and not fuck up.
Ooh, that reminds me, we should wrap this up so we can go like catch the end of that.
Yeah.
Do you mind if I say kind of a last word on what I
really liked about Uranium? Let's do it.
Nintendo could never do that. That's the thing I was kind of thinking about is like, Nintendo, with black and white versions and the whole, trying to address the popular reinterpretation of Pokemon as just glorified cockfighting thing. Like, there are attempts made to kind of look at, kind of the darker implications of the Pokemon universe and whatever, but I don't think anything has done that as incisively as Pokemon Uranium version. Like, and that's the thing, too, is I think part of the underlying appeal of Pokemon, just in concept, comes from, ancient Japanese natural religion, them being like, kami, like nature spirits or whatever. And so, like, all the villains, all the antagonists in the Pokemon series are always like trying to subdue nature, kind of. They're always trying to like capture the legendary Pokemon or whatever. Even from like the beginning when it was just Team Rocket, using the power of Pokemon to take over the world or whatever. So the thing that Pokemon Uranium does is actually turn that into a discussion about how we're going to produce energy in a responsible way, with nuclear energy obviously taking, the focus and the spotlight. And I think that's just a really great, ingenious thing to do with that property and let you have fun with it at the same time. And I should say, like, just kind of as a final coda on the whole nuclear issue is one of the I guess more on the nose designs is a glorified solar panel. It's just like a single-celled organism or whatever with 6 legs, and it looks exactly like your solar panel. And you're kind of given it in egg form as sort of one of the promotional Pokemon the game gives you to raise. And Japan also happens to be the 3rd nation in the world among solar producers. So, yeah, there's something there.
Yeah, so, I mean, I think that's good. Thanks. We really appreciate you coming on, Trevor, to give this review and really talk about this. I think that's a good point. I mean, my thing is just go play it. This is a great game, and for me, we're in like if anyone's questioning whether the legality of it, I think specifically Game Freak, there's kind of a wink, wink, nudge, nudge. We have to do this kind of thing, and I think that because of the way it is, because it's so easy to access, it's eventually just a game you can go and play, and it's kind of cool like that. And I think for me, because it's free, it's why not do it?
Absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. Well, hopefully we won't get sued over this. I refute any other letters. Go to Trevor because he's the one that downloaded it. I never downloaded Pokemon Uranium, even though I just said a couple minutes ago I played almost all the way through it. So sue Trevor, please. He's his own individual. He's not associated with Newman Visual Productions or Tuscan Shed Media Network. No, I'm just kidding. But do head on over to Tuscan Shed Media Network and go check out Trevor's full review of Pokemon Uranium. It's super interesting. It'll be up around the same time this podcast goes up. So if it's up, you should guys go and check it out. We would really appreciate that. He is awesome. He's an awesome writer. He's got one of our most popular articles to date. I think he has the most popular article to date on Tuscan Shed Media Network, which is TuscanShed.com. Go on. You can head on over there and check out our other things, including the Movie Gang podcast, where you'll be able to hear us talk about Shin Godzilla, which we referenced earlier in the episode. You'll also be able to go to Animania and hear me and Trevor and Peter talk about anime.
Yeah.
Cool. You can also head on over there, and we're going to get it updated soon, but you'll be able to go back to listening to all that good Geek Space 9, the glorious Geek Space 9 geek tent. I was going to say content, but with geeks, but I don't know. I couldn't make the 4th G work. I don't know why 4th G, because 9 is not a G. Whatever. Okay. Anyways, head on over there and also check out our Game of Thrones watch-along show, Feast for Bros. I think that's all the things, right, guys?
Yes.
Pretty much.
Also, head on over to Twitter and go to SavePointGC at SavePointGC. That's our Twitter handle. You can shoot us some questions there, and we'll answer them live on air. Well, it won't be live, but it'll be on air, and you'll be able to listen to it.
It'll be live for us.
Yeah. So again, head on over to Tuscan Shed Media Network at Tuscan Shed. It's going to be TuscanShed /blog.com, and go check out Trevor's article. Thanks for listening, guys. For Save Point Gamecast, this has been Jack Newman,
Trevor Flynn,
Peter Dancy,
and Ben Haworth, who had to leave early. I don't know where he had to. I don't know. Outro joke.